Hi, Bob Armstrong, Executive Director of Oasis Ministries Canada, with another practical tip on how to manage our current reality with the COVID-19 virus. Somebody shared a video this week on Facebook that really made me laugh. The man was asked the question that involved two options. Would you like A, to isolate with your wife and children for 3 weeks, or B? And without hesitation, before the B option was even given, the man said B. This transaction did make me laugh, but what is no laughing matter is the increased financial, emotional, and relational stress COVID-19 has caused on marriages and family. Today's tip is how to manage marriage during COVID-19. Job layoffs, fear of losing our business, concern over your ability to make mortgage, rent, or car payments, concern over your ability to keep food on the table, the change in rhythm of leaving home, going to work, and returning at the end of the day, the change of trying to work at home with kids underfoot, the challenge of learning to work a different way than ever before, from home and online. These are only a few challenges created by COVID-19 that can cause great stress, leaving individuals and couples feeling overwhelmed and, for some, acting out with unhealthy stress behavior. I just saw a feed on Global News saying that domestic violence has been reported to be up 300%. I've been wondering if for some couples it's time. Time for what, you might say? Sometimes when crises like COVID-19 occur, couples are challenged to look at what their real priorities are. What do they really value and consider important in life? Sometimes they begin to realize that marriage and family are what is most important. It's really not money or a job, a big house, a fancy car. It's relationships. Relationships where we are loved and cared for. We don't need enemies at a time like this. We need allies. If you've had a shift in priorities, maybe it's time. Maybe it's time to start doing things differently than you have. Maybe it's time to make your spouse and children a priority. Maybe it's time to resolve those unresolved issues that continue getting in the way of your relationship going and growing in a positive direction. Why don't you make the first move toward your spouse and end the uncomfortable tension of walking on eggshells? Maybe you're tired of all that energy holding on to bitterness and it leaking out through angry outbursts at those who haven't done anything to warrant that kind of intense response, or through criticalness or contempt or defensiveness, maybe anxiety or even maybe depression. Perhaps some of your exhaustion has to do with the energy you are wasting holding on to resentment. Or maybe it's time to start building an emotional connection with your partner by listening instead of trying to deal with your discomfort by trying to fix everything. Listen with your whole being. This means getting rid of distractions such as turning off the television, the computer, the cell phone, or putting down your newspaper or book. Listen without passing judgment. Listen for the words and their meaning. Be patient as thoughts and emotions are put into words. Watch your body language and gestures that are also communicating. Clear your mind of any other thoughts. Guard against practicing a response in your mind while the other person is talking. Try not to interrupt unless you need clarification. Remember not to finish each other's sentences. Listen without drawing premature conclusions. Hold back from telling them how they should feel. Be open to seeing the other person's point of view. Be careful not to miss a chance to listen by changing the subject. Refrain from giving pat answers or advice. Share your opinion only at the invitation of the other party. Check for accuracy. During an appropriate break in the conversation, you might want to say something like this: I just want to make sure I am clear about what you are saying. Are you saying? And tell them what you believe they are saying. And stay away from other communication killers such as labeling, distracting, humoring, teasing, or sympathizing. It may surprise some, but weddings are still being planned and going ahead, but often very different than anticipated. The other day I saw photos of a wedding where maybe 7 people gathered in a backyard, still respecting social distancing. For those already married, maybe it's time to remember those things that drew you together in the first place. There is something about rekindling that emotional closeness you had in those early days. Yes, love matures over the years, but remembering and rekindling those special moments triggers a positive emotional response that could become the early building block of restoring your relationship to health. The evidence is clear. Some tips to managing marriage during COVID-19 is to make your marriage a priority by making the first move to resolve those unresolved issues that continue getting in the way of your relationship from growing and going in a positive direction. It's time to start building an emotional connection with your partner by listening instead of trying to deal with your discomfort by trying to fix everything. And maybe it's time to remember those things that drew you together in the first place. There is something about rekindling that emotional closeness that you had in those early days. So pull out the photos and remember the good old days. I'm Bob Armstrong, Oasis Ministries Canada. If you'd like to learn more about having a healthy relationship, I would encourage you to go to www.couplecare.ca and order the book called Along the Way. I'll be back in a couple of days with some more practical tips on managing marriage during our current reality with the COVID-19 virus.